This is day 3 of helping you say things that are hard to say. Today, we're talking about asking for respect. I'm curious to know how many people deal with this. Now, the way that I would approach this one is I like to use this method in a lot of situations in my life because I realize that I'm only living my life from my own perspective, from my own experience. And so I'm really living in my own world. And sometimes things seem as they are not. And so I like to give people, especially, the opportunity to let me in on their perspective before I start having too much of an emotional journey based off of my own perception. So if you're in a situation with a friend or in a relationship and you want to ask for more respect, the method that I use is I start with just becoming very inquisitive. So if I'm feeling like I'm not being respected, I might start by literally asking this person, do you think you respect me? And then opening the conversation with that. Like, I think that does a few different things. It gives that person an opportunity to evaluate if they even do respect you. Because why have this big conversation on how you want to be respected if they don't even want to respect you in the first place? So they can evaluate if they feel like they're respecting you and if that's something that is important to them. And I think it does another thing, which is lets them know that you probably, even if they feel like they do respect you and do care for you, it kind of opens the door of letting them know that you're not receiving it in that way. So starting with, like, do you respect me? Do you think that you respect me? And my next thing, after kind of seeing where that conversation leads you, I would go with, when you X, I feel Y. So I heard this method in like a counseling, I think, thing, or some seminar I was listening to a few years back, where it was saying that when you're working with somebody, building something with somebody, a relationship, whatever this is, you want to lean into I statements. So instead of saying like, you do this, you do this, you do that, right? You're instead saying, I feel this way, or I respond this way, or this tends to cause this. And so I like that. And I think that it's valid because at the end of the day, this is all about me. This is all about you. I like to approach it with like hey, when you do this, like, I feel this way. Is that your intention? Or when you do this, I tend to feel this way. Like, just starting with just the question, what is your intention when you do this? Because it often causes this of emotion inside of me. Hopefully, whoever you're dealing with, whoever this person is that comes to mind when you're seeing this, hopefully there is a lot of love and care in that relationship, and you can or even begin, if it isn't already, a transparency between the two of you, and you'll be able to have this conversation really, it should sprout out of these questions. If you're not in that position, it may be a situation where you want to consider, like, if this is even someone you want in your life. Now, I do think a lot of you blame, okay, and might be hard to hear, but I think a lot of you blame the circumstances on your lack of communication. It does not mean that your feelings are invalid, but you do leave a lot of space open for resistance and resentment when you don't even give the person an opportunity to understand you or understand how you want to be loved. Okay. Sometimes things feel like, well, no, duh, like, why wouldn't they do that for me? Or why wouldn't they know I want that, or whatever? We really, really, really get caught up in wanting people to read our minds and wanting them to just be inside of here. And that really just comes from your own fear and own insecurity and inability to communicate how you're feeling. Don't use that as an excuse anymore. My main priority is always to be the most effective communicator I can, especially when it's hard, because I want to avoid resentment in my life. I don't want to resent anybody, and I know that lack of communication on my part leads to resentment because I end up just suppressing all these emotions and feelings over time that turn into me, like, blaming that person for something that I probably could have helped them prevent, right? I could have gotten out ahead of that. That's how I would approach it. Let me know in the comments if this is something you resonate with.